Thank you for joining the Share the Love Speed Mentoring event. Annette Bramble, she is the Deputy Mayor of Hackney, and she's also a councillor for one of the Homerton wards. It's lovely to have you, councillor.
You're welcome, Elaine. Thank you for having me first off. So yeah, really excited to be here, and just listening, Abby talking about, you don't have to be trained, there's an opportunity, and Cleon talking about the exciting games he's creating, and then hearing from Leslie after just creating something new is so brilliant. So yeah, welcome everyone, and first of all, a big thank you to Elaine for pulling this together. I think that you're phenomenal, and just want to commend you for bringing this together. So just to introduce myself, my name's Councillor Anntoinette Bramble. I am the Statutory Deputy Mayor of the London Borough of Hackney, and what that means is that when the Mayor is not there, I am in charge of Hackney Council, and what my role is that I set the political strategic direction of the council. So what does that really mean? Every 4 years, councillors are elected and they set what's called their manifesto, and then they decide what your local authority will deliver. So it's all the pledges and promises to you as residents that we set. And I set that for education, children's social care and young people. But because I'm also the Deputy Mayor, I get to set some of that strategic direction across the whole council with the Mayor and the Chief Exec of the borough. So there you can see me with a young person. We're doing some work around the Windrush, and Hackney is going to be one of the first local authorities that's going to have a monument with a Windrush artifact in the Hackney Square, telling people about that journey. So some of the things that I've done, for example, is I lead on a piece of work called the Young Fairer Futures Commission with young people. And we spoke to just over 2,500 young people. And what we did is get young people in Hackney to talk about their lived experience. What do you like? What's working? But more importantly, what isn't working? And if you were Mayor of the day, what would you change? Young people did a phenomenal piece of work. They've now produced a report, and then we are going to act on their report. They've made some fantastic recommendations, and I just believe that when you give young people a platform, they don't just tell you what's wrong, they also tell you how you can fix it. So that's one of the examples. Another thing that I've started as Cabinet Member for Education is something called Hackney's Diverse Curriculum. I really felt strongly that we tell and hear the untold stories of the contributions that Black people have made to this country. So I am British born, but my parents are from the Caribbean. So see myself as quintessentially British. That means I see myself as very British, but I'm also steeped in my Caribbean heritage. But growing up in school, I only got to hear about that British identity, but not my Caribbean heritage. So in my role, I decided that we were going to have a diverse curriculum, and I've got officers in the councils to work with me. All of our Hackney teachers got together and wrote a curriculum, and now over 600 schools have signed up to this curriculum. It's free, and 3 countries from abroad, so Switzerland, I think it's Switzerland, Singapore and Spain have signed up for this curriculum. And so to give you an example, you don't really hear about there being Black African Caribbean people in Roman times, but we were absolutely there. And I want to tell the story of beyond slavery. Yes, that's important. Yes, we can talk about it, but there's so much rich things that Black people have contributed, and we don't hear that. And I would say, whether you look like me or you look like Abby, who you hear from earlier on, if we don't know those untold stories, we are all robbed of our history. So that's something that I've still started. Elaine, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. What I say might not be in tune with the slide, but hopefully you can keep the journey. That goes back to something that Abby said before. I'm a qualified nursery nurse, I'm a qualified teacher, and then I went on to be an assistant head in a primary school. I'm a counsellor in London Fields. So I'm a trained education professional, but I also did freelance journalism, and I didn't train with that. I did freelance journalism and I have dyslexia. So I'm always amazed that, thank God, that someone who has difficulty with spelling and writing was able to do some musical with broadsheets.
I'm just getting my headphones, one sec.
Also, I hadn't trained in politics. So it's really important to know that, yes, you need to work hard, stay in school and do your best, but actually you can soar, move forward in careers, even if you are not trained in that area. I would say that I'm the first Black woman to be an elected deputy mayor under the elected mayor model. And here it says I'm the deputy leader of the local government association. Basically, that's a big organisation that represents over 300 councils across England and Wales. And basically, we speak to government about what they need to improve to help local government work better. So lots of times I'm speaking to either shadow ministers or ministers. So it's sometimes you're working with people that work for Boris or people that work for Keir. That's a big part of that role. And I'm also the first Black woman to hold that role. But the most important for me about history is building legacy, because it's great to be the first and it's great to make history. I don't want to undermine that. But when you build legacy, you make sure that if you're the first person, you are not the last. And that's something that I'm really excited about. Let's go to the next slide, Elaine, thank you. Oh, that picture there of me is just when I went to a local school. So at the moment, the government says you need to have what's called a lateral flow test. Basically, it's testing in schools to help schools be safer. And I went along to a school to look at what they were doing. That's a picture of me doing some volunteer work in one of our local communities. So some of the things in my portfolio are making sure that Hackney is a child-friendly borough, thinking about how we get designers, planners to think, if young people are in this space, what makes it meaningful to them? Ethical governance and democratic services. Basically, it just means all of the things that make the council run efficiency, whether it's law, whether it's advice, all of that sits within me. Let's go to the next slide, Elaine. This is what I was talking a bit about before around the Black curriculum that I started. I think it shows that as a full-time local government politician, there are things that you can do. Now, because I'm not the because I'm not the Secretary of State for Education, that's Gavin Williams, I don't get to say all schools in the country must do this and it must be on the national curriculum. But at a local level, I've started this and using that influence. And as I said, over 600 schools have signed up. So it shows that at a local level, you can influence things. I've talked about the fairer future commissions. One of the things in lockdown is that the government gave us a certain amount of laptops that young people could have. It wasn't enough. So while I wrote letters to government and saying, you need to give us more, I launched a campaign in Hackney to ask people to donate. As a result, we've raised over £7,000 and we've got just over 300 laptops. So again, it shows that when government doesn't quite meet the need, what you can do locally. Improving outcomes for young Black men is looking at health, education, the judicial system. It's just where we're wrong for some young Black men, how we can work across the system and make sure things better. This is not about stigmatizing young Black men. Everything wrong as a young Black man. Statistics shows that sometimes you still may be more likely to unemployed than your white counterparts. So it's actually talking about racism and how you tackle the system and how we're honest about racism. I think in light of Black Lives Matter and what happened, we all just need to be uncomfortable and comfortable, feeling uncomfortable talking about race. I just think it's that time. I also lobbied the government when they said over Christmas, the government said 22 London boroughs could close their schools, 11 couldn't. Hackney was one of those schools they left off, and me and the mayor said absolutely not. And we lobbied government and ministers, and in the end they changed their mind so we could join London in closing all those schools, making sure that our children could be at home and be safe when the R levels were quite high. Next slide, I think that should be the last one. So this is my advice to young people. I say that you cannot always determine the amount of doors that you close, but you absolutely can determine every door that you push open. What I'm saying to you, young people, sometimes life is difficult and that's hard, but you have to persevere, because doors will shut all the time, but you keep pushing them open, because when you push it open, it could be the opportunity that you're waiting for. To all the volunteers, again, Elaine, I just want to tell you how fantastic you are. Great role model. Look what you've put in place. To every volunteer that's given their time today, thank you for what you are doing. You are the reason that young people will leave this and feel empowered. So thank you. Young people, I challenge you to ensure you come away with some nuggets, some enthusiasm, and a pursuit to find something that you want to do and go on to. You know, you've got an amazing opportunity, so make sure that you capitalize on it. So yeah, have a great afternoon. I'm sorry that I can't stay for the whole of this session, but absolutely I'm pleased that Elaine had me here for the beginning. Again, have a fantastic afternoon, everyone. Elaine, thank you, and everyone, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. For any of the young people who are interested in politics, please do follow Councillor Bramble, because she is on social media. She's on Twitter, she's on Instagram as well. What's your handle? Do you mind?
No, I don't mind. It's ANNTOINETTE, and it's BRA1. So if the young people want to get in contact with me, get in contact. If you want to talk about lobbying and campaigning, I can explain to you that you don't have to be in national government to shift change. One of the last things I'll tell young people as well is that in my role as in the local government association with my colleague, the other deputy leader, who happens to be right, we wrote to all Labour councils and asked them to agree to review every statue, monument and road name within their council that pertain to or link to slavery. Now hear me and hear me well. I'm not naive. Taking down a statue in itself does not undermine or undo slavery, but having the dialogue in those communities where people have different ideas begins to build the gap. And because of the work that I did with my colleague, every Labour council has committed to do that work. Now, I'm saying to you, young people, you don't have to have a platform like me to make a difference. So speak to all of these people volunteering their time. Find out where you are meant to make the world in a difference. So take care. Thank you so much, Elaine.
Thank you.